Last year I made a video trying to give 10 predictions for the upcoming season. I said some dumb stuff like the Nuggets and Knicks making the finals, or the Cavs being the 6th seed, but some of them I low-key kinda cooked. I said the Thunder would be the best team since the KD and Steph Warriors, and Shea winning MVP. I said Jokic would average a triple-double, double check. I said the Bucks were doomed, and I said the Sixers would stink, check. So I'm not gonna make some long-winded intro. I just want to see if I can go back to back. So here's a sequel to that video and 10 more predictions for you. But first, I lied. This is more than 10. I just gotta put 10 in the title and thumbnail because it sounds sexier. So let's do a quick little lightning round. My first prediction is that MPJ finishes the season top 5 in total threes made. I think the Nets are easily the worst team in the league, and they're gonna need some guys to get some shots up, and they're giving the already biggest why not let it fly guy in the league the biggest green light possible, and I will be seated. Next up, I think Franz and Paolo will both be all-stars. They were both going to be all-stars last year, but due to injuries, they both missed out. And with Hallie and Dame gone, I think Bane replaces their spots, and Orlando has 3 all-stars. And maybe Houston has 3 all-stars too, but who knows. Anthony Edwards is averaging 30 points this year. For my final lightning round take, I'll say Wemby finishes the next year not only as a consensus top 5 player, but he'll finish top 4 in MVP voting. He's by far and away the best defender in the league, and that last year before he got hurt was basically a shoo-in for DPOY, no one questioned it. He gave the other players in the league 2 extra months to catch up to him in blocks and didn't even come close. Not to mention the spacing on the team is shit. Wemby's gonna have to put up like 9 threes a night to make the spacing work. With this massive carry job, it won't be a surprise if he finishes top 4 in MVP voting. Not to mention, if he somehow drags his team to the playoffs, we're gonna have some uncomfortable conversations about Wemby. I can't fuck with you. Okay, I'm gonna get the Nuggets talk out of the way because I already made a video about the Nuggets summer and my opinions about our offseason. And I think it's this simple. This past postseason in the Western Conference semifinals, the Thunder had 8 players log over 100 minutes. The Nuggets had 6. Not to mention Russell Westbrook's hands were literally in pieces, MPJ's shoulder was falling off the fucking bone, and Aaron Gordon was on 1 hamstring in Game 7. You know the offseason moves, and if you don't, go watch my other video after this one. I think this team is going to be amazing. Like, I've been talking crazy to my friends all summer about how good they're going to be. Like I mentioned before, this team was playing their starting 5 and Russ while injured and still took the eventual champions to 7, who were statistically one of the most dominant teams of all time. We got rid of MPJ, and we're not only to get rid of his contract, but a player that was better than him in Cam Johnson. He's practically half of the money too. The Nuggets were able to add real NBA players to their roster for the first time in what feels like forever. Bruce Brown is back, Tim Hardaway Jr. had a great year for Detroit, and I've been so desperate for a backup center that I'm legitimately happy about Valanciunas on my team. Even though a lot of Nuggets fans are overrating him, he actually kind of stinks and is the worst rim defender in the league, but offensively, still way better than DeAndre Jordan playing playoff minutes in 2025. I was so desperate for depth that last year I was unironically begging for Justin Holiday to come back. That's how down in the trenches I was. I think this team has a legitimate chance to upset the Thunder for the 1 seed, and with that comes all-stars. I think Jamal Murray is going to make his first career all-star game, breaking Jokic's 11-year streak without an all-star teammate. I think the odds are even higher now, not only because of the record, but because this year's all-star format is USA versus the world, and he could represent Canada. So for the 3rd year in a row, I'll obviously pick the Nuggets as my championship favorites, barring injuries. With a head coach who took over the team 3 games before the playoffs and a depleted roster, I doubted this team time and time again in the playoffs, and they defied my expectations even as a fan of the team. The Clippers should have beat them. They had the better roster and better coach. The Nuggets should have lost to the Thunder in 5-6. They were by far the better team. But time and time again, the Nuggets' absolute lock-in factor, championship experience, and Jokic's brilliance took them even further than I could ever predict. So now that Jokic has a 10-man deep roster, I'm all in. No more doubts. Not to mention Durant Holmes, baby! So let's talk about the Nuggets' biggest issue in the Western Conference. More specifically, about my favorite hoodlum in the league, Chet Holmgren.
Young boy in control. No, I blow your block down. Everybody here too comfortable.
I think he's easily going to make an all-NBA league this year. And to be straight up, I think people who say Chet Holmgren isn't worth the money are stupid and don't know anything. The first 9 games of the season, Chet was a monster, averaging 18 points, 7 rebounds, and 3 blocks. He was playing so out of his mind, I was genuinely convinced he could have upset Wemby for DPOY. But after the first 9 games, he broke his hip and would be sidelined for the most of the season. And you know what he did post-injury after breaking his hip? He was the best defender on the best defensive team maybe ever. Yeah, sometimes he could stink offensively, but he could literally not jump. He broke his hip. I don't understand what people don't understand. He broke his hip mid-season. He was not able to work his already skinny legs for almost like 5 months? This guy is genuinely the most valuable young asset in the league outside of Wemby and Ant. At 22, Chet has already anchored a championship defense, being a minimum top 5 defender in the sport already, while providing a massive 3-point shooting. Last video was all about me hyping up the Magic, but if I was the Magic GM in 2021, I'm picking Chet first overall over Paolo. I don't give a fuck, bro. If you actually let his stupid off the court shit actually affect how you see his talent, you're a moron. While the Nuggets and Thunder are going to be at the top of the mountain of the Western Conference, there's one team that I think is going to start dropping from the higher parts of that mountain, and fast. I'm not even going to fool myself. This team is so old, dude. Their 3 best players are all at least the age of 35. Jimmy and Steph have never been the most durable guys in the world. On top of that, they're the only team this entire summer to make practically 0 moves because of the Kuminga shit. So they didn't even get any of these old people any help. Before the Jimmy trade, the Warriors looked like they were really finished this time. They had no offensive juice outside of Steph, so he was just getting triple teamed, who he himself is still a great player, but has clearly lost the step. So if he gets hurt, that means we'd get 2025 regular season Jimmy Butler first option hoops. If Jimmy gets hurt, Steph will be all alone again like last season. And God forbid, a real possibility, both of them get hurt. Who the fuck knows what's even gonna happen to this team? Somehow, even on top of all of that, is the Kuminga stuff killing the chemistry of the team and making the vibes just off. I wanted to talk about Kuminga a bit, but it's not even worth it because apparently he'll be off the roster soon enough. Hopefully. I'm not buying any Golden State stock this year. The Warriors are either going to be a playing team this year or miss the playoffs entirely, but hopefully Steph proves me wrong. You can't talk about yin without talking about yang. So what do I think is going to happen to my Kings Lakers in his possible final year? Well, for completely different reasons, the Lakers are once again my most confusing serious team. For one, I think Luka is going to have an amazing bounce back year. I mean, the NBA scriptwriters have really outdone themselves setting up this Luka revenge tour. And we even got a preview of it in the EuroLeague. But man, the Lakers have way too many holes to join that upper echelon of Western Conference teams. You would think a team with Luka, Doncic, and LeBron James, 2 of the 5 smartest players to ever play the game, and another star-level ball handler in Reeves the Boot, would be an elite offensive team. But they just weren't. The Timberwolves this year, who were worse defensively than last year, completely shut down anyone not named Luka down. So not only is their offense iffy while having practically 0 depth, easily the biggest hole in this team and what everybody's been talking about is that if you look at their starting 5 of Luka, Reeves, LeBron, Rui, and Ayton, there is not a single player on that starting unit who I would claim as a positive defender. Sure, Bron maybe when he locks in, but how are you going to ask a 41-year-old man to anchor the defense to a team with championship aspirations? All while being the second option offensively. I just don't think that's possible. Not to mention, Ayton is so abysmal on defense that the Blazers became one of the best defenses in the league after sitting him out and letting rookie Donovan replace him. Toumani Camara was one of the best defenders in basketball last year, and even he couldn't hide DeAndre Ayton. So what am I expecting Luka and Reeves to do? We saw what happens to a pair of defensively weak guard and big in the pick and roll in the playoffs with Cat and Brunson. So my take for the Lakers this year is that they have the most unclear floor and ceiling. If you're watching this from the future, you could tell me that JJ Redick got the most out of Ayton and Luka and him had an elite pick and roll game and they end up as like the 4th seed. But you could also tell me that Ayton breaks down mid-season, Luka gets fat again, and just like all the wheels start falling off and they end up in the play-in. Neither outcomes will shock me. I'll be honest, that's how unclear the Lakers are to me. And with the Warriors and Lakers, I don't want to be a hater. I just don't like the way their rosters are constructed. But a team I'm even lower on than them is the Sacramento Kings. This team I just hate. Like, that's it. I hate this team. They make me so angry. This team and the Bulls are by far the dumbest teams in the league. That's why when you see other teams trade with them, it's like taking candy from a baby. With these trades, they sell their fans on these total bullshit rosters and act like they could go somewhere with these. The Light the Beam Kings era was cool. They were never going to win anything with it. The reason that Fox won Clutch Player of the Year was because so many of the Kings wins were in clutch situations. That's just not a sustainable winning formula. And if that wasn't bad enough, they added old DeMar DeRozan to that roster, who is another negative defender. The Debo and Zach LaVine Bulls went nowhere in the East, and the Kings thought, hey, let's do that, but in the Western Conference, which is much tougher, and now they're older. Let's see how this is going to work out. No! I hate this team so much. It's just, oh my god. It's just such a bullshit roster because it truly is. not bad enough to end them up in the lottery, but it's also not good. It's nowhere near good enough to actually compete with other teams. That's why the Bulls and Kings are so frustrating to me, because they just sell these fans on mediocrity. But somehow, even more than usual, the Kings have been on straight bullshit all offseason. They threw Dennis Schroeder a fat bag in 2025, who, shout out to Dennis Schroeder in the EuroLeague, but in the NBA, it's a different story. Then on top of all of that, they want to add Kuminga and Russ to the team. Like, what is this team even doing? I'm just so over it. I just hope that this year they just bite the bullet and blow up the team. I have no idea what teams would want to trade for Sabonis or DeMar. I could see a lot of teams wanting Zach LaVine. Dude, the Kings are so stupid that we live in a world where them trading Keegan Murray or Keon Ellis for a bag of Lay's potato chips seems possible and not out of the realm for them. They're that stupid. If that happens, no joke, I think the franchise should just be destroyed and we get like the Sonics back to replace them or something. Anyway, I'm sick of all the doom and gloom. That's 3 negative ones in a row. So let's get on some hopium. And this is a lot of hopium, but stick with me. I'm bought into the Sixers this year. I'm sorry, I'm letting my emotions get the better of me, like the Luka comeback stuff. I just refuse to believe we've seen the last of MVP Joel Embiid. And I know it's as credible as Ben Simmons' workout videos, but he looks good right now. I also love them drafting VJ and keeping him instead of what I thought they'd do and trade him for Larry with something in like a Paul George package so they can get his contract off the books. I'm really high on VJ and what he could become in this league. And I know it's crazy to say, but Jared McCain's rookie season is seriously the closest thing I've ever seen to Steph Curry. That level of shooter is once in a lifetime. I also really like Adem Bona. I still think Tyrese Maxey can get a lot better in various different ways, like efficiency and finishing. Not to mention they're in the Eastern Conference after all. They just need to not have the season of hell again, and Paul George and Maxey are available to play. Able to carry them to a decent 5-6 seed, rest Joel for the playoffs, have him play some games just so he can get in the groove, and I think they could break their Eastern Conference Finals curse. I really do. This roster is really good when healthy. It's just that the Sixers are never healthy. And it'd be much easier to believe everything could go wrong again like last season, and they really have the most cooked future in the league, but why do that instead of believe? If I know one thing, it's that fortune favors the bold. If that one's too crazy for you, I get it. It's kind of crazy too, but something more grounded in reality I think most people can get on board with is that I'm picking Giannis Antetokounmpo to win his first MVP in 6 years. Giannis in the past few years has pretty clearly to me become the most underappreciated star currently, if not in our lifetimes. His last playoff runs have been derailed due to injuries, and people just seem to forget that we're watching maybe the greatest power forward peak of all time, and I don't say that lightly. As much as I love Shea and Luka, you people saying they're already better than Giannis are out of your mind. He's coming off his second straight season of averaging 30 points on 60% from the field. This man is not human. If the Nuggets knock on 70 wins or something crazy, by all means, giving Jokic another MVP award would be amazing for my agendas. And as much as I believe in the Luka comeback year, I think him having to share the rock with 2 other star level ball handlers, he won't have the same gaudy 2024 stats in his Dallas stint. Also, since I'm expecting that huge Chet leap and the world was put on notice on how good Jalen Williams is, I feel like Shea won't have to offensively carry as much as he did last year, which got him his MVP. So I'm going with Giannis. Giannis is going to be on a mission this year. He's going to be a one-man army completely. I could see him averaging over 33 points. He could be like top 4 in rebounds and like top 7 in assists. Giannis is a beast. A team a lot of people are counting out though are the Pacers. I think they'll be playoff bound even with Hallie out for the year. Halliburton is one of the most valuable players in this league already, and we saw that stretch to his absolute limits as he took his Pacers to the finals, being the engine for the team, and everything the Pacers did this run lived and died by this dude. But I think people underestimate just how deep this roster was, with Rick Carlisle giving new opportunities presented to players like Nembhard and Ben Mathurin. There's a reason both are heavy favorites to win MIP already. Nembhard has already surpassed all expectations of him. He's literally risen his game to the playoffs, taking huge shots and shooting 29% from 3 in the regular season to rising it to 46% from 3 in the playoffs. Benedict Mathurin was kind of stinky in the playoffs, but he had huge flashes in the finals, and I've always really liked his scoring game, so I think he'll use this opportunity right. Not to mention they have a variety of other weapons like TJ McConnell and Nesmith, and another all-star on their team in Pascal Siakam, who everybody keeps underrating, so we'll see what he can do as a first option next year. If you want an example of how good I think the Pacers are, they're such a deep team that the Raptors are this stupidly expensive roster for such like a whatever team, but I think the Pacers are legitimately like neck and neck with them even without Halliburton. And if the Raptors are an unclear playoff team, why can't the Pacers be in the playoffs too when they just went to the finals? but a team I think people are overrating just a little bit in the East, and as much as it hurts me, I don't think the Detroit Pistons are going to have as much success as they did last year.
I'll sip this shit over you.
They exploded onto the scene after having the worst team in NBA history, making the postseason, and were one of my most watched teams throughout the league. But the loss of three-point shooting like Malik Beasley and Tim Hardaway Jr., who had huge years for them, just kind of hurts their roster a lot. And even losing Dennis Schroeder hurts their roster because he was huge for them in the playoffs, dude. They gave Duncan Robinson a bag, which just doesn't move the needle for me. But getting Karis LeVert was a great move to alleviate some on-ball pressure from Cade. And I don't know how Jaden Ivey is going to look post-fracture. If it's not Anthony Edwards, I think Cade Cunningham has the strongest case to be the first American-born MVP in a long time. He could become a consensus top 10 player next year, and Asar Thompson could take a huge offensive leap. He's already one of the best defenders. Imagine what he could do with just a little mid-range game. So I don't think the Pistons are going to be as good this year, but I think Cade and Asar are going to make their strides. So who do I think is going to win this week in Eastern Conference? I've never been the person to say a hot take just because I want to be controversial. It's a boring answer, but I'll go with the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Come get high with me. If we die, then we broke the rule.
They have by far and away the best roster in the East. They were on a 70-win pace last year and no one expected it. They were completely exposed in the playoffs by the Pacers though. But you have to remember Darius Garland and Mobley both missed time. Taking injuries out of the equation, I think it's clear to me that the Cavs are the best team in the East. And it wouldn't shock me if they get another massive Mobley offensive leap and we just call him the consensus Cavs best player. And do you know how powerful it is to have your best player not even be your best scorer, and Donovan Mitchell still rises his game to the playoffs and he could finally break that conference finals curse? And nobody wants to see Garland succeed more than me. I've had to defend him so much as he's one of my favorite players in the league. So I just hope that he'll be good in the playoffs for once. And most of the time it's not his fault, but still, not to mention they could always flip Jared Allen mid-season if the roster isn't working for a big trade. And in my opinion, the Knicks just don't have the defense at all to compete. I like their bench adding some firepower throughout this offseason though. And last video I talked about how excited I am for the Magic, but I really do need to see their offense in practice before I can say it's playoff proof. Because what we saw against the Celtics, it is far from playoff proof. How are they supposed to keep up with the Cavs' insane three-point shooting if they got in a series? So it is a boring answer, but I think the Cavs are going to be in the 2026 NBA Finals representing the East against the Denver Nuggets. Well guys, that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed it and you could let me know what you think about my takes, and I'd love to hear some of yours and we could keep each other accountable throughout the season. So I hope I get to see you later, and thank you for watching. Please subscribe. Thank you. Take care of yourself.
Spent nights off the diners at my desk. Did time in the tower off the spliffs. I'm not like the cowards on the bench. I'm not like I'm lounging on the bench. Get up out and get your shit. Find some power in yourself.